Major, and the race is officially underway. We are just getting started. So to start out, you're going to see they're all going to do a menu here. There's 3 things they're doing: putting the battle speed up to 6, message speed down to 1, and moving the cursor to memory. Moving the battle speed to 6, what that's going to do is make the enemies as slow as possible. Moving the battle message to 1 is going to make them disappear as fast as possible, and the memory is going to make it so that wherever your cursor was last in any of your menus in battle or in your regular menu, it will stay where you last left it. That's going to make things a lot faster when it comes to menuing. So what you're also going to see here is that they're going to have to fight these battles, but they're also going to be intentionally running away with Vix and Wedge, those 2 brown soldiers there. Reason being is that we want our green-haired protagonist here to get to level 6 as quickly as possible, and because experience is split over this game, if those other guys have run away and are no longer in your party, they will not gain any of that experience. It will all go to question marks, or Terra, or whoever that is. So whoever, yes. So so that's the name of the game for these first. I think it's 3 or 4 battles here that you're going through.
Yeah. I thought the name of the game was Final Fantasy VI.
Okay, you know what? If you're gonna get all technical on me, this is gonna be a long commentary. Natara.
Isn't it always though?
I'd say it's about an hour and a half.
Yeah, you're right. That is an excellent question, though. How long is this run, Bonnie?
So speaking of how long we can expect this to go, looking at the racers and I'm looking at their splits as far as their PBs are. Starting with caeshura, her PB, it looks to be 1:31:47. BSharpMajor's is, if I'm reading this right, is 2 hours 12 minutes and 45 seconds. So, but it does look like he's gotten a few runs in, so maybe he's a little more well practiced than his splits would lead you to believe. For Aezir, the PB I see there is 1:39:26. And I actually don't see a PB on takaze splits, but takaze is a very accomplished Final Fantasy VI speedrunner. He's got some very good times in at least one category that I know of. So I will expect his PB is going to be among some of the better ones. So speaking of takaze, we see he is the first into this cave here. After we bust through this gate, we're going to fight our first boss. His name's Welk. Welk has an interesting mechanic where it's actually 2 enemies. There's the shell and there's the head. What the shell is going to do is, after a set amount of its ATB builds up, it's going to have its head retract into the shell, which is going to make it invulnerable, or at least it's going to make it impossible to kill. So what we're going to try and do is the quick kill, where we're going to try to eliminate that head as quickly as possible before it gets an opportunity to go in the shell. This is going to be aided greatly by use of a technique called the wait trick. What that means is that during certain battle animations, if you're in your menu, like you see on takaze here, he's got all of the different menu commands for the Magitech. That is going to stall the ATB of everyone, including your enemy, while that is up. And if you do that in a very precise way, we're going to be able to have him eat 3 tech missiles from Terra, which 95% of the time is all you need to do in order to kill Welk. So we should be coming up on here on takaze's side. He's wait tricking that last attack. That slime on her is not going to matter. Here comes the tech missile. He'll queue up a fire beam just for safety, and he won't need it. Looks like caeshura unfortunately missed the quick kill here, but it also looks, oh, she did throw out a tech missile too late, unfortunately. You're going to see the punishment for that is going to be that attack. Now, fortunately, Terra did not die, which means that as soon as that head comes back out, she should be able to make short order of him. But unfortunately, this quick kill was indeed missed.
And it's honestly not the worst thing in the world to miss the quick kill, as long as you know the strategy around it. What can happen when you miss the quick kill is you could have attacks queued up, which now attack the shell, and that can end very poorly. Again, you saw how terrible it could have gone for Kay, but luckily she did manage to kill Welk before anything really nasty happened.
Yeah, and it looks like the same thing happened to Aezir over here, excuse me. But fortunately, still in good shape. We're going to throw out a tech missile, and hopefully that will be the last one to kill it. Oh, no, still got some work to do. BSharpMajor also waiting it out over here on his side as well for the head to come back out. So for those of you not familiar with the game, what's happening story-wise here is that Terra is part Esper, and she's reacting to this Esper that they found. And she goes on this whole self-discovery deal, and we go from there. One thing I do want to point out, what's coming up here on takaze's screen is we're going to get the first opportunity to name some of our characters that are going to be in our party. And what you'll see here is he will shorten Terra's name to just T. The reason why is that every time you see one of those text boxes there and it draws up that text, the less characters it has to draw, the faster it can disappear. So by having our character's name as short as possible, it will save, it saves several seconds over the course of this run, but I mean, over the longer categories, we're talking about minutes. So
yeah, and that
it is definitely important to do.
Oh, definitely important to do. And I think in this particular category, there's only one person who we don't rename because they have a sum total of 3 text boxes. So it tends to take more time to just renaming them than it does that we lose by having a full name. Certainly.
All right, so it looks like everybody's through Welk now. Nobody's worse for the wear, so that's good. What we're going to see first here on takaze's screen is that Terra is going to be going into this cave here. We're going to be fighting every battle we get along the way, and we need to get her to level 6. Now, the reason why getting characters to a certain level at certain points is important is because when other characters join your party, it's relative to the experience of your current characters. So that's why we budget this here. You're also going to see it on Mount Colts, and we'll get to that when we when that part of the game comes up.
So you guys are going to see a couple of the streams pausing for a moment. Please do not be alarmed. Just getting some sync in.
Yes.
Kitchen.
Oh.
Alrighty.
They're almost
So really not very good. Alrighty. Yeah. Now, what you see Takaze doing there, where you see Terra just running back and forth, he's forcing an encounter, because this is the last opportunity you have to get a random encounter before you hit the trigger that will result in Locke joining your party. So he forces the encounter right here, and you'll see as soon as he's done, he is going to immediately walk up into this trigger here. And then there's going to be a cutscene after this.
Yeah, and the reason we definitely want to force that encounter is there's a lot of very precise experience routing that goes on in this run. It has a cascading effect of levels as every new character that joins comes on an average of your current player characters. So if even one character is not at the correct level, it starts a chain of having to catch up and make sure you get people to the correct levels. The ultimate goal is to get Sabin to level 11 when he joins you, as that's the magical level you need in order for him to learn Aura Bolt, which we put to great use through this run.
Very true.
So right now we you'll see some people are on step route and some aren't. It is not necessary to do any amount of step routing for this run, but for those who are step routing, they have a few different advantages. They know where their encounters are going to be, making it very easy and predictable for them to do their experience routing. But it's also particularly important because it gives them access to manipulate the river sequence, which they're going to be on later, which is extraordinarily valuable, and we'll explain why once we get there, but it's another kind of like chain of effect where even if you can't stay on the encounter step route, just because you know which siege you're on means you can do the river manipulation, which is beautiful.
And when Natara is talking about a seed, what she's talking about is a predetermined kind of encounter chart that the game has, where it knows after how many steps in certain areas you're going to get an encounter. I believe, just like Final Fantasy IV, that there are 256 different seeds possible. Won't go too much into how to manipulate it to get to the seed, to the desired seed. But do know that all that manipulation was done before the game even started, and can be very important, especially when you're attacking some of the higher times.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Our journeyman, definitely not Thief Locke, joining our party at this point as well.
Oh no,
Right.
he is very specifically a treasure hunter. Please don't mix those up. His lawyers are ready.
Yes, he's very particular about that, as you'll gather throughout the course of the run. But he's also a hero, as you see here on Takaze's side. He has discovered the lifeless green-haired girl and said, "Okay, I'll help her." And he's going to need some help himself, because you'll see that this guard has brought some friends. And this has Locke worried, but luckily, he just made some new friends right now. Moogles!
Koopa?
Koopa, yes. So in a casual playthrough, what happens here is you're going to split into 3 parties, and you're going to try to prevent all of those mobs that are coming up from getting to Terra. We're just going to use one here. We're going to get Locke out of the way, and then we're going to use this one, which has Mog and a few others in it. And we're just going to go up and we're going to attack the Marshal. We're also not going to get into any encounters with mobs, as you see Takaze deftly stepping by these wolfmen here. You can do so while they're in their walking animation. You can walk by them without triggering them. And Takaze does it masterfully. And then one key thing that we're going to do here that you'll see is, because Mog is a playable character, obviously, Coupon getting netted. That inflicts the stop status, which means that Coupan's going to be pretty much out for the count for this entire battle. It's going to make it a little longer. Anyway, with Mog, because he is a playable character, you can equip and unequip him. And what we're going to do here, because we never see him again in this run, is we're going to steal his pike and his shield, and that's going to be rather useful for much later stages of this run. We see caeshura getting to the Lobel Marshal fight with no problem.
Yeah, once you get the kind of movement tech down for skipping these fights, it is really quite consistent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it looks like Takaze might have updated his splits here. It appears that his Kefka at Narshe PV is 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 23 seconds, which is an excellent time. So
Yes, it is.
I would expect that his run is going to be of very high quality, just because he is very well versed in this game. And we see caeshura is through the Lobel Marshal fight. I didn't see if she took Mog's equipment. I will assume that she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
At very least, she almost definitely took the spear, the pike.
Yep. Definitely the pike. I didn't really see the
Yeah.
shield, but it's not nearly as important.
Right,
No.
exactly. Yeah, the pike much more so. Alrighty, now B-Sharp got a little bit of a late start here, so you see that mob is already in that bottom corridor to the left, which means he is... Oh, shoot. He's going to get an encounter there. Encounters really only waste time. They're not terribly dangerous. So, I mean, you might lose a few hit points here that could be a problem against the Lobel Marshal, but other than that, nothing too bad. Ooh, wow. Aezir taking the trickier route around those guys, but so far so good, and he's by... Yeah, he's good.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't. I don't take any chances with those guys. Because again, you see what's happening here on B-Sharp's screen. If you get that movement tech wrong, you do have to fight. And he's already taken hits and damage on characters he does really want to have at mostly full health for this Marshal fight.
Well, fortunately, none of the mobs encountered any of the parties up top, so he's fine there. Looks like the net on Cuckoo here. That's nets are unfortunate, but as long as it's, I mean, if Ma gets netted, then this battle can really drag on, and it can also, depending on how long it goes, prevent you from being able to take Mog's equipment. But Cuckoo getting stopped is not that big a deal.
No, it's really not. Basically, as long as Mog and Kupan aren't, but especially Mog, all the rest of it is very dealable.
Indeed. So we see takaze is the first to acquire Edgar, our third-party member. Edgar, I think, is arguably the most useful character over the course of this run, maybe right up with there with Sabin. So you'll see a lot of the things that he will do that will make some of these battles pretty quick.
Portion of the game is also lovingly attributed as Cutscene Castle, as it's pretty much story for the next, like, 6 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, the hardest thing about this castle is just literally navigating it. And it's not even knowing where to go. It's dealing with all the stairs and just like, oh no, I missed the stairs, I can't. But thankfully, in terms of the encounter seed that we were talking about earlier, the steps inside places like this, which are no encounters, it doesn't matter anyways, but it does take extra time if you're not walking optimally. It's not like camp cutscene or anything.
Right, right. Alrighty.
So what you're seeing here, or likely may see but may not, is when any character is on the world map, if they're doing the step routing, they are taking a very specific walking path. Anywhere that there's encounters, they do want to be walking fairly precisely. But on the world map especially, because there are certain tiles which are no encounter tiles, so not only will they not get any encounters on those specific tiles, but the threat counter and everything doesn't increase, so they want that in order to further manipulate what encounters they get as they progress. So if they're not on step route though, it is still a good idea to follow that same path and to learn it, because again, no encounters is still no encounters. Well, looks like not getting trolled by the counselor. As soon as you've done the most of the cutscenes and learn about Sabin, or duly named S in this game, the Chancellor shows up and you can talk to him, but more accurately and importantly for these runs is he gets in your way. So you like to place bets and just hope he just gets out of your way or moves just as you're walking through, and he really stayed out of the way for Kay, and mostly for takaze as well, which is nice.
Yeah, takaze was able to get by him pretty easily. So no problems there. I mean, if he does get in your way, we're talking about a delay of, about a second or so. So, I mean, it's overblown. But that's some of the fun things we kind of like to do in the community is blow things out of proportion.
Yeah, just like this staring contest, which takaze did not get.
He got half of it.
He did get
you
half
see that guard is still looking to the right.
Longingly waiting.
Longingly.
Yeah. He's like, why won't you look at me?
I'm hideous.
If you do a perfect input on that, you can get both of the guards to stare at each other.
And caeshura got it.
Oh,
of
beautiful.
Course.
Her run is valid.
Run, yes, that is one of the few ways that you can validate a run.
Yeah, like, there's just so many cutscenes in this game, and especially this category. Like, they're good and they're really not that awful, but there's little things we like to do to amuse ourselves, and that is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that chocobo soldier. He always likes to get in the way. If you have your routing and your timings on the walking right on, then you can dodge the chocobo guys, but otherwise they really love to get in your way. So, looks like almost everyone has named Sabin here. So again, as we mentioned at the beginning, the top 2 racers are racing against each other and the bottom 2 racers are racing against each other. They are not all 4 competing against each other. And the reason I mention this is because Aezir and BSharpMajor are actually really quite close to each other. And caeshura and takaze are also relatively close to each other. So, but they are sadly not competing against each other. So even though it looks cool, not an official race.
But Natara, my precious SRL points.
I know. I know. Don't worry, you can still have those.
Good.
Alrighty, so first here on Takaze's screen is we see Edgar fleeing the castle after it has been lit on fire by Kefka and his nefarious ways. We're all going to escape, and then this castle is going to do something pretty magical in just a few
just
seconds.
How magical?
Oh, well, I tell you what.
Magical?
Well played there, Riz.
This is where Riz wins.
Yes, so, but what's happening here is this castle is going to do a little Transformers deal, and it's actually going to sink into the sand, which is a pretty interesting design quirk. As far as the functionality of this, later on in the game, this castle can actually appear in 2 different deserts on the world map, and you can intentionally have it submerge and come up in the other area as essentially a means of traversing the map. But for this purpose right here, it's really just to run from Kefka.
And to look really, really cool.
Well, that too. That was self-evident, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Alrighty. So we have this M-Tech armor fight here. This is going to be the first introduction to the usefulness of Edgar. He is going to use his tool called Auto Crossbow, which does a decent amount of damage to all enemies on the screen. He's just going to do this twice, and then we are going to move on.
There are no cutscenes, there's nothing else to worry about, but you do have to keep in mind that using magic here does trigger a cutscene, and not just in this fight. Anywhere up until the point you reach your next town, which is South Figaro, if you have Terra use magic in battle only, it triggers a 40-second cutscene, so that is quite a time loss, so you do have to be really quite careful not to use any magic between now and then.
Is that cutscene only 40 seconds long?
Apparently so. I said at one point it was 1.5 minutes, and someone timed it for me.
Okay.
Which was amazing. They're like, actually, it's only 40 seconds. I was like, that feels so much longer.
Mm-hmm.
The cutscene with Gao is 1.5 minutes, though. That one I've timed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that include the Kappa tutorial?
I don't know. I actually couldn't tell you. Well, we're gonna time it here today, folks.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we can do that. Impromptu.
Sorry, we will.
So, let's see here. We've got Aezir is about to escape the castle. Takaze is doing the first instance of riding a chocobo. We're only going to do this twice throughout the run. In fact, the other time is going to be coming up in the not-too-distant future. But what we are seeing here on Takaze's screen is he is going to go through the cave to South Figaro. Basically, all we're going to do here is just kill every enemy we get to. This is going to help boost our experience because, again, we are routing this particularly for what Natara referenced earlier, which is making sure that Sabin joins at level 11. And the mechanic, the calculation for that is it takes the average level of your party rounded down and adds 2 to it, and that's going to be Sabin's level. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Edgar to level 10, we're going to get Locke to level 9, and we're going to get Terra to level 8. So that's an average of 9. That gets the 11. Now, what you'll probably see here on Takaze's screen is he's going to be very particular once he gets onto Mount Colts as far as what battles he fights and who is remaining in those battles. And we'll that'll be a little easier to explain once we get to it. But for now, just going through the cave, we just kill everything we see.
Yeah, and the basic strategy for killing everything here is auto crossbow is overpowered. However, those Bleeries have, I believe, exactly 119 HP, so there is a slim chance that Edgar's auto crossbow bolts won't do quite enough damage. So in that case, you have Locke and Terra ready to attack afterwards, so they can just clear it up, as you did see on takaze's screen earlier.
Speaking of his screen, what you're going to see here is an example of something that Atara was talking about before. On the world map, he's going to take a very particular route. He's going to go down, across, and down, and across, and down. Yeah, that particular route is going to have him walk over the maximum amount of encounterless tiles so that he can force those battles to happen not as often. What he's also obtained is a relic called Sprint Shoes, which, as you can see, is going to like triple his walking speed.
Gotta go fast.
Indeed.
So this poor Chocobo guy, he must sit there all day by himself because he asks you, he's like, do you want to know how to ride a Chocobo? But does not actually give you a choice to answer yes or no, and immediately just plows through and is like, well, here you tell you ride a Chocobo. So bored, that guy.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's all he does, right?
Exactly.
And we just saw it on takaze's screen. We're about to see it on caeshura's screen, where she is going to ride the Chocobo over to the entrance to Mount Colts, and then that's it. That's the only that's it as far as riding Chocobos in this category, at least.
Exactly. So, as Vonnie mentioned earlier, we are really quite particular on what encounters we fight on Mount Colts in order to get those ideal levels. And the general strategy I found when I was not step routing was fight all the outside enemies and don't fight any of the inside enemies, as a general rule. More specifically, you really don't want to fight those brawlers, as they don't get very much experience, and it's one of the first examples of enemies which can't just be one-shot by the auto crossbow. You also saw Edgar, that takaze went off the path and picked up the Atlas Armlet, which he immediately equipped on Edgar. That increases all of his attack damage, including for his auto crossbow, so very useful.
Yes, indeed. All right, so here we go. Let's see if he does it here. So he's going to cast Fire there. He's going to use... first of all, he's going to put the Mithril Pike onto Edgar. This is something that will be useful later. He's also going to put... There you go. Okay, so lots of things happen there, all right? He cast Fire with Terra and used the auto crossbow with Edgar. You also notice that Locke ran away. That was completely by design. What happens is you cannot run away if you have already taken an action. So he intentionally queues up everybody but Locke to do them. And then Locke, having taken no actions, can run away very quickly, especially in a side attack like he had there. The other thing that he did with his items was he equipped the Mithril Pike onto Edgar, the one that we got from Mog, and he also the Mithril Blade that Edgar was wearing now goes on Locke. This is going to be important because it's going to allow him to deal a higher amount of damage to the next boss that we get to in the not too distant future here on takaze's side, and that is Vargas. So that was a very important random encounter that we did there as far as functionality goes.
Yeah, and if you're not on the step route, you wait for either that battle or the one with the Trillium in it to do the similar thing. But the important thing is to make sure Locke runs away from the previous type battle, and from that battle, and to get that equipping in. If you're not quite up to speed on all the technique, you can do some of this in separate battles, but the one you have Locke run away from is fairly specific.
It's also a factor of step route, too, that you'll know which ones to make him run away from because you know what encounters you're going to get.
Exactly. Oh, Shadow got blocked and in turn tried to block BSharp in South Figaro.
What you can do there is when you get into South Figaro, if you just go straight down and to the right, sometimes you can go underneath some of that blockage. You don't really have to worry about it. Sometimes it depends, but that's usually a way I've found to get around some of that potential trolling.
Absolutely. So both caeshura and takaze are on the kind of spiral down to where the boss is on this mountain. And the unfortunate part about this section is you are fighting enemies named Trillium. And these enemies are great. We want them for experience. However, they have an ability called Bane Touch, which does have the possibility of poisoning your characters. And that is not ideal in basically any situation. We're trying to make sure that Terra has enough MP for the upcoming boss battle. So too many poisons and if you're using Antdot to cure it, she could be low MP. Some people purposely route in buying a star pendant while they are in South Figaro, which can help minimize some of that. Other people just take the yellow and hope for the best. You did see takaze right in time for the boss battle. Did get poisoned, but all you need is 20 MP for this battle, so he is at the perfect amount, so he is ready for the boss.
Yeah. So this is the Vargas battle, but you also see Vargas has a couple of friends there, those bears, the Ipus. You cannot attack Vargas until both of those bears have been defeated. So you're going to see him concentrate on the bears, and then we will do at least 720 damage to Vargas, and that's not actually going to kill him yet. It's just going to trigger a cutscene, and then something interesting will happen.
And the basic strategy for the beginning of this fight is having both Edgar and Terra attack the Ipus in order to help kill them, and purposely make sure both of them go before Locke. And then we put Locke in the front row. The reasoning for this is we want him to go last before doing his row, so he can avoid any potential extra damage from the bears, but we do need him in the front row to do extra damage to Vargas.
This is true. Alrighty, so takaze is done with the first part of the Vargas fight, and here comes Sabin to the rescue. So we're going to see a quick cutscene here. Yep. Oh, sorry, yes.
No, I was just going to say Kay's also made it.
Yes, indeed. But what this portion of this battle does here is it serves to introduce Sabin's his special technique, which is his blitz commands, and in particular he has several blitz commands, but in this case we want to do pummel, and all that does is it basically just triggers the Vargas fight to end, and it has ended.
Is always wonderful. Something else which some people do for the more potential complicated tech with the Vargas fight is as soon as Sabin joins and you're ready to attack with Sabin, Vargas often queues up a move called Doomfist. And one of the things that runners try to do once they get used to that fight is manipulating the fight in order to either completely avoid Doomfist or to have it happen immediately, first thing as soon as you get control of Sabin. So it did look like takaze did get the skip. I know you judge on what you do to get the Doomfist by what or when Vargas's first attack is at the beginning of the fight. So he had held off on doing the row with a lock until Vargas attacked.
And it looks like caeshura also got the Doomfist skip as well, because I did not see a countdown timer over Sabin. So nope. So well done on her end as well.
Absolutely, and even if you don't purposely manipulate that, sometimes you do get it, but it is a strategy, and one of the ideas is to purposely manipulate it. Ooh, that was close.
Having a little bit of difficulty with that mob there. If one of your characters dies here, that is bad news, because you do not have any sort of you don't have any Phoenix Downs, and Terra does not know life yet. So if they're down for the rest of this grind here. So and the Vargas battle, more importantly. So it is very important to manage HP appropriately during this section of the game.
Yeah, because again, if they die, if any of those characters die before Vargas, like before you get the levels you're aiming for here, that's going to also affect the experience routing. Now, at Final Fantasy VI is a bit unique compared to some of the other games in that most of the boss battles do not give experience. So that's why we just worry about getting the levels before the boss. So had, you know, someone died after they got the levels, but before Vargas, it would have been a more difficult Vargas fight, but at least it wouldn't have ruined the routing. But yeah, it's all things you have to manage and keep an eye on while you are going through.
Yeah. So on Takaze's screen here, he is in the Returner's hideout. He's finished the first kind of cutscene part of this, and now he needs to talk to everyone, but he also needs to collect some important items coming up here, and we'll kind of explain what those are and why he is getting those in a minute. He's already grabbed a Phoenix down from the room where Locke is. He's got to talk to Locke, Edgar, and Sabin before he can proceed. Now he's going up into the treasure room, and we are going to see him grab the following. He's going to get a Phoenix down, a True Knight, an Antidote, and an Air Lancet. The Phoenix downs we need to... There's going to be a couple of particular places where we are going to need to use one as a item for a trick and an item for a quick kill. What else did he get? Oh, the Air Lancet is something that Shadow is going to throw. The Antidote is safety for Locke's scenario, and then the True Knight is also useful for one of the tricks that I was talking about there with the Phoenix down. So, you know, we're getting items here that are going to set us up for various points later in the game that, and they're crucial as well. So, looks like BSharpMajor made it all the way through the Vargas fight with no particular issue. Or I'm sorry, is starting the fight now. But it looks, I'm sorry, Aezir is through the fight.
So soon everyone will be through Vargas, so that'll be great. See how these other two Vargas fights go. While takaze and caeshura are doing their Returner's hideout cutscenes. One of the things you're seeing Kay do now, which we saw Takaze do a moment ago, which you need to say no to Banin 3 times in order for him to give you, or in order for you to receive the item called Genji Glove, rather than the Gauntlet, which you would get by saying yes. And we definitely really want that item because both the Gauntlet and the Genji Glove are glitched, but Gauntlet is glitched in a bad way, and Genji Glove is glitched in our favor. So yeah, we want that. So it does more damage than it's supposed to. Takaze here is resetting. He is setting up for the river manipulation, where by resetting twice and not moving to the next screen until this NPC up in the top left there moved on to the carpet, it makes sure that there's a potential of 9 encounters that you can get on the river. It ensures that he will only get the mandatory 2 at the beginning. So it makes for a much faster and a much safer river. Which is important because you now have Banin in your party. He has only 120 HP, and if he dies, it's game over.
And game over is bad.
What?
Somebody here in chat says we missed the K gauntlet. I don't know if maybe I didn't know that was a thing where maybe she had accidentally gotten that in the past.
I think in the past she has certainly done that. Yeah, I believe I've heard rumors of someone who has done that, but I believe it's K.
Another point about saying no is you get a much shorter cutscene.
Oh,
you say no to Banin as well.
Definitely.
So that time as well as the better item, what you're looking at for all of the choices we make there.
Yes, now caeshura is setting up her river manipulation. So again, even if you don't know where to step and what to do with step routing, it is very worth it to set it up in the beginning just so you can do the river, which is a lot easier to deal with. You just need to know when to reset, which is just twice, and when to move to the next screen. So, takaze getting ready for our next boss, the best boss in the game, in my humble opinion.
Don't you have an emote expressing your affinity for our next boss?
I do. It's a wonderful one. And I think Vani should explain this fight, as he has a wonderful tutorial video explaining it.
Well, thank you, Natara. So this fight, we're also going to see the use of some weight tricking here. We're also going to see takaze intentionally trigger an attack from Ultros. The reason why it does this is it is going to skip the attack that he normally would have done with his ATB being full, and instead it's going to swap it out for one that is much less dangerous, and also resetting his ATB in the process. So that ink that you see Terra just took, that's the last time, I would imagine that's the last time we're going to see Ultros get an attack off here. He will sink back into the... Ooh, wow, especially after that crit. That was very fortunate. So we should see this battle ending pretty soon here. And if that's the case, then this is a very, very quick fight here for...
Which, to be honest, exactly what we expect out of a runner like takaze.
There he goes. Yep.
Beautiful.
Wow, he just... I'm looking at his splits. That was a gold split for him.
Oh, so even better than his usual.
That was an excellent Ultros fight on his side. And the attack that I was talking about that was triggered is anytime you use Terra casting fire on Ultros, he will say "Youch seafood soup" and will retaliate with an ink attack that does somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 damage, which is really not that big a deal here. So we're going to see caeshura now approaching Ultros. And let's see how well she handles it. Let's see if she does the weight tricking as well, and this will kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about here. Yeah, so we want Edgar to attack first. Then we want Sabin to get that Aura Bolt off. We're going to wait here with Terra until Edgar is full again. Then we're going to attack... She's weight tricking his attack animation, and that's going to allow her to get that fire cast right as Ultros would be using his next attack, which is a scripted one where he says, what does he say? Oh, delicious morsel. And he does a lot of damage to Terra, so we definitely want to avoid that.
So on takaze's screen, he is just picking up a new party member, Shadow. That is the one character we mentioned earlier, which we do not bother renaming as he just does not have enough text to make it worth it. He also purposely manipulated where he just received that encounter, as he wanted it to be on the grassy part of the map, not in the forest, as you only get that one beaker by having it on the plains, while in the forest it's a potential for a bigger attack, but also like an encounter pack which you don't want and like, because any encounter packs that you experience from the beginning until the time you reach the Veldt could potentially show up on the Veldt and cause difficulty for you later on in the run. So we definitely do our best to avoid those sort of situations.
All of those things are true.
So we'll see if Kay does the same thing. I do notice Aezir is also doing the river manipulation, so that should be very helpful for him.
That was very close. Aezir almost loaded his file.
Ooh, yes, that would.
Which you actually don't want to do the first time you reset. Certainly you want to do it the second time because you got to keep playing the game. But the first time you really only want to do it when just the actual file select screen comes up. Speaking of the manipulation, we will find out shortly here, but I think Aezir might have left that screen just a hair early. We'll find out if he gets an extra encounter.
It looked pretty good, but we'll definitely see. caeshura doing something a little different there. Just before you recruit Shadow, there is a merchant who shows up, and you can talk to them and pick up a couple of extra items for safety. So she apparently only bought one of the... I don't think she went to the treasure room in the Returner's hideout, because she picked up 2 Phoenix Downs, bringing her total to 3, and she also picked up 2 Shuriken, which would replace the air lancet. Also, walking back and forth on the map, as I believe she thought she was off the step route, ensuring again that she gets the encounter on the plains and not in the forest.
Now, on Takaze's side here, he has acquired Cyan, and he did a quick menu there. One of the things that he did was he took his battle speed down to 1. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to make the battles faster, but because we're using a sword tech here with Cyan called Retort, which is predicated on getting attacked by the enemy, we want that battle speed, we want the enemies to go as quickly as possible so that we can get through this as quickly as possible. And he has achieved that perfectly.
Which is excellent. Now, on Aezir's screen, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he was forced to reset, or he chose to reset. And what that means is he no longer has the river manipulation. So he could get any of between 2 and 9 encounters.
Yeah, and that could definitely make his trek through here much longer.
Yeah, I'm
so
not
hopefully
sure.
It's not too much. We'll find out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure if he took the wrong way on the river or not, but he wasn't very long on the river before that happened. Now, we see that both Takaze and caeshura are in camp cutscene, where everything is cutscenes, and I hope you love them.
No, it's Fort Expedition. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like it was Bannon. Bannon took a hit, which is unfortunate. So there's two kind of there. Takaze is of course still ahead of caeshura time-wise, though. Again, to reiterate, they are not racing each other. And we are currently receiving Cyan now on caeshura's screen, so it's her turn to do the fight with the soldier there. In the meantime, we're watching on Takaze's screen. The main general, or the more good general of the Empire, Leo, just got sent away. So since they're having problems defeating Doma, Kefka decides, I'm not going to fight fair, let's let loose poison. And we're just like, you're a monster, we can't handle, that's not happening. So of course, Sabin and Shadow jump out to try and stop him, but not being too successful.
Yes, he does try to run away. Like a coward. He calls us toads.
That's what he does.
And
we call him waiter.
And we call him, yep.
He really doesn't like that.
Fair game.
Well, no,
does he look like a waiter?
We tell him to wait, and he assumes that we are trying to call him a waiter.
We're not.
I guess that's a matter of interpretation. Quick menu here on Takaze's side. He is going to, he's gonna unequip Shadow and then optimize Sabin's gear. What that's going to do is it's going to take off the ninja gear that Shadow is wearing and put it onto Sabin instead. That's going to give him some extra speed, which is going to be very useful for him throughout the entire, throughout the rest of this category.
Okay, so yeah, doing the fight here after Kefka. General strategy here is just fight the guys in the front, throw the air lancet, or in caeshura's case, the shuriken you picked up earlier, and do a blitz on the other guy in the back.
Indeed, and now we see the purple drank getting put into the river. He's basically just going to try to codeine out everyone in Doma, and you'll see that he will be very successful in doing that.
It's very unfortunate. I do also want to note the near simultaneous Ultros fights on Aezir and BSharpMajor's screens. Again, these two are not racing against each other, which is a shame because it would have been really close.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. But as we have it, there are, I mean, to be perfectly honest, there are some pretty wide gaps between the ratios in these two races, even more so on takaze's side. But by no means is this run over. There's still not only is there still plenty of run left, but there's still plenty of RNG left in this run that can cost you several minutes at a time in certain places. So while these leads are substantial, they're not completely comfortable. So we're not calling anything yet.
Nope, most certainly not. So after the purple stuff gets dropped into the water, Cyan and his co-worker, friend, we don't know, decide to run through and check and see who's still alive. And unfortunately, the king has not made it. And they both realize, oh, Cyan's family is also here, and they're looking for survivors. But Cyan, you know, being a family man, is like, I'm going to check on my family.
I just happened to glance down at Aezir's screen, and I see. Oh, I'm sorry, he reset because he's doing the manip, but
he wouldn't.
That return wasn't really seeming to cooperate, so I'm not sure. Oh, he didn't safety. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he was fighting Ultros. He didn't even safety save.
That's what I mean.
Must have had an Ultros issue.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that, but yeah, no, did not beat Ultros. And let's be real here. The Ultros fight is extraordinarily difficult, and more so when you're not doing the quick kill. If you are doing the quick kill, the timings they're precise, but it should be the exact same every time. Ultros is a scripted fight, but if you don't have that quick kill quite down, or just don't have it at all, Ultros can be one of the scariest fights in the game, short of Kefka. And it's killed many people's runs, so that's why learning that quick kill, though it's precise, is really quite important to learn, because again, it is scripted, so once you have it down, it should be the same every time.
Yeah, indeed. And we see as they're fighting some battles here, which is an interesting strategy. There is no real benefit to fighting them as far as gaining experience or safety levels or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure what his reasoning is here, but hopefully he's able to make it through this time. And hopefully he makes a safety save at the second stopping point there. Ooh, Bannon with 9 HP.
Ooh, that's scary, yeah.
That is definitely scary.
Now, there's a few points, like, I'm a big believer in safety saving, especially in the marathon or race setting. And there's a few key points which I always highly recommend you save at, especially if you're not particularly sure. Okay.
Looks like Aezir has let us know in chat what's going on. He was letting off steam, probably not too happy about that Ultros rip, and he was just looking for some butts to kick, and he got it. And boy, he's got to be really careful here. If Bannon takes even the back row, if Bannon takes one hit, he could be bad. Please get to a stopping point.
Yeah, and thankfully.
Okay, he's good. He's good.
Okay.
So please cure your Bannon and save.
Yeah, and again, there's 2 save points here, and generally you want to save for the second one, because if you have any doubts whatsoever on your Ultros, because you save a lot more time than you would if you died and had to go all the way back.
Indeed. So, what's going on here with Takaze, because he is the furthest along of the 4. He has joined forces with Cyan as far as Sabin and Shadow are concerned, and they have decided to commandeer some Magitech armor, and they're just going to blast their way out of here.
You leave them unattended, and this is just what happens.
Exactly.
I feel like they should have been using the Magitech armor when they were invading the castle, but I don't know. I'm not in charge, I guess.
Right?
No, instead we have soldiers that are just running up and bouncing off the wall instead. These seem like optimal strats.
Speaking of optimal strats, he is making sure to use the really important strat of using a different beam on every enemy. This is key importance. Literally, though, it means nothing, but it's such swag. Like, guys, why would you not? This is a good opportunity, though, to make sure to organize your inventory if you have a bit of time, because there's times like this where you're fighting only 2 enemies and you have 3 people. So while different moves are happening, you can take some time and organize. Not necessary to do, but it is something which can help.
Alrighty, so
Gonna say, speaking of speedrunning, destroying castles, next time we get a shot of Doma with the soldiers attacking. We'll probably see it on Aezir's screen in a little bit. Just watch the soldier on the very left, guys. Do yourself a favor. The guy on the right is also really amazing, but the guy on the left is literally the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. Someone had to point it out to me because I'd never bothered looking, but it was mwah.
Oh, Aezir having a... he is... Oh...
Yeah, but he is using a safety health.
Yeah, he is... Oh, I see. That just does an AoE attack. So...
Yeah, and better to be slow and safe and not lose the time having to redo again.
And I'm looking at his battle. I don't know. Oh no, there goes Ban again. I don't know if he changed his battle speed and battle message, because at least the battle message seems to be pretty slow right now. Aezir, hey, you know what? Keep it up, man. Just keep plugging away. You'll get it eventually. Oh, they're set properly? Oh, okay. It just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed a little long. Maybe it's that particular feed that I'm on, so.
Yeah, I did notice that Bannon looked to be the wrong level. He seemed to have a max of 100 HP. Okay, he didn't get the 1098, yeah. And again, this is the cascade that can happen. And you can definitely keep trying. Yeah. It's definitely where some of the difficulties can come in. Now, takaze has reached to... he has reached the next section of the game, which is the Phantom Train. And what happens here is you've left the Imperial camp, you're looking to progress and get back to Narshe, and the only way to do that is to go through this creepy forest. And in the creepy forest is a creepy train. And Sabin, the total brains of this outfit, decides it's a great idea to get on the train. Bad news, because it turns out this train is heading to the underworld, and if they don't get off, they are literally dead. Takaze also grinding a fight. I got this.
Yeah. So if you are fully on step route here, what you saw Takaze do at the end of the second car of this train was you saw him move up and down at the very end of it, and he forced an encounter there. Reason for that is because 2 reasons really. Is that the encounters on the second half of this train on the outside are bombs, and it can be triple bombs, and if that's the case, especially if it's a pincer, it can be extremely dangerous. So that's going to minimize the number of those encounters we get. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to set us up perfectly for the Veld, where after you go to Mobley's and you buy the dried meat, the first 2 encounters you get coming out of Mobley's are single enemy attacks, which means you'll be able to wipe through them more easily, with, of course, the intent of getting Gao to join your party. So we see. So the part that I'm talking about is pretty much here for Takaze, is that anytime he's going to be getting any encounters outside of the train cars at this point, they are going to be unfavorable ones unfavorable ones to get. So we want to minimize those again. Which is why you will probably see, especially at this point, as he's going through this car, if any ghosts block his way, he's not going to try to circumvent them. He's just going to sit there and wait for them to get out. Oh, well, and just as I say that, they all stay out of his way quite nicely.
But they know who's the boss here, and it's not them.
They fear him.
Of course, he beat the almighty Ultros. I'd fear him too.
Yes, indeed.
So going back into that car, avoiding it from the outside because there is a cutscene in there, which is a total waste of time, unless you really need some healing.
Yes.
But making sure to pick up that chest as it contains a set of earrings. And what you may not know about many, if not all, of Sabin's blitzes is that a lot of them are counted as magic attacks. So in order to boost the damage of that, you equip earrings on Sabin as they increase your magic attack. So that is definitely something you don't want to leave behind.
Speaking of something you don't want, caeshura has been pincered by these ghosts here, which isn't terribly dangerous, but it is definitely a waste of time. The strat that you do here is, what you saw is she used a potion on the single ghost on the right-hand side. Potions will do enough damage to one-shot it, and then once you have one side of the pincer attack cleared out, then you're free to run, provided that you can run from the enemy itself. Looks like we have Takaze doing a validation suplex on the train.
Yeah, so
well
there's only one
done.
emote you can use for that. Yeah.
Trainplex.
So for some reason, like the suplex blitz, many enemies have a built-in immunity to it because, like, why would you be able to suplex something that can fly? And many bosses do have the immunity to that, but for some reason, the train is not one of them. So yes, you do actually lose time by suplexing the train, but guys, you gotta do that swag and validate your run. The real strategy is just using a Phoenix down because it's an undead train, so you just kill it right away, but guys, suplex the train.
But it's suplexing a train. I mean,
yeah. What were you saying, Riz?
It's a train. Gotta suplex it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
much like real life.
Do what you need to do, but we are going to judge you based on what you do with that train. If you attempt it, but it doesn't happen because, you know, the train has an ability called Evil Toot, which casts random status ailments on your characters, and sometimes it makes it literally impossible to do it. So that's not your fault.
Literally, absolutely impossible.
Now what we're seeing Kay show off a strat. She almost had it the third time too, where we do not want to take any extra steps now. She's definitely on a strict step route, so she's not going to try to circumvent the ghosts, but you can walk through them. And you saw as the ghosts were approaching her, she went into her menu, came out real quick, and she was able to zip through them. Now, this mechanic is going to be incredibly useful for these runners in about 15-ish minutes or so. So, so we're going to see that get put to we'll see that get put to much better use. Aezir again.
Yeah, it looked like it was going a little bit better that time, but unfortunately, he got the single target tentacle right on Bannon for 119 damage. There was no surviving that. So what Takaze is doing right here now is he is you have a mandatory wait time here. It's essentially a cutscene where nothing happens, but the timer ticks down even when you're in your menu. So taking the opportunity to equip some necessary relics, the earrings that we picked up along with the True Knight, both of which are going to be useful coming up, and taking some time to not only set up memory cursor locations, so your cursor will be exactly where you want it when you need it next, but also making sure to organize his inventory. So as again, it's a mandatory wait time. Had he come out of the menu early, then all that would happen is he'd sit there waiting.
Now we did see that that caeshura did get hit with an Evil Toot. However, it only afflicted darkness on Sabin, which is not going to prevent him from doing the Swagplex. So she has validated her run as well. And this is all very exciting.
It's even better of a suplex with the cool guy shades.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
I want to note, when trying to enter commands into the chat a moment ago, I almost did ! Suplex. Just, it's so beautiful.
So when's it gonna happen?
Shortly.
Alrighty. So caeshura is through the train. She's actually right on her PB pace, so certainly by her own standards, she's having a great run. She's looking good here.
We're seeing the Phoenix Down and the True Knight that we picked up earlier being utilized. We're on a fight here. Takaze stream.
So what normally happens in a casual playthrough here? What? Oh
no, that's not what we want.
It's not what we want, but it's not necessarily. It's not necessarily.
You can reset up the exact same situation here. Yeah. He just needs to kill 2 of the piranhas, and then do the suplex and everything again. It will still work.
Yeah.
Speaking as someone who's done it.
Yes. All right, so he is going to wait for Cyan to fill up again, and he's going to go back. This time he's going to wait until 2 lights up to get the retort. Now we're going to get the blitz. So what's happening here is, okay, anyway, in a casual playthrough, you go down this waterfall. There's a bunch of these piranhas that pop out of the the waterfall, which culminates in a boss fight called Rhizopaz. In this particular run, to fight Rhizopaz at this level, it's extremely difficult, and it would be very easy to wipe. So instead of getting powerful enough to fight him, we just skip him. And that's done with by a combination of killing Cyan, bringing him back, using his retort ability, and then triggering it with the suplex from Sabin. And doing so does not trigger the next group of mobs to come up. It basically just cuts straight to the end. So, which not only saves our run, but saves plenty of time as well. Ooh, looks like caeshura does not have a backup antidote here and has a very blurry screen.
Well, you don't want to use the antidote here. If you're still on step right, you're not going to get an encounter between the forest and the falls, so you just kind of live with the eye bloodiness and then move on.
Yeah. And just for a little bit of official housekeeping here, Aezir has forfeited his run, so that will be it from him. But Takaze will still go on. Takaze does need to complete his run in order for it to be official for him. So now. So Takaze is the first to make it to the Veld here. This is where we will meet up with our guy Gao. Now, what happens with Gao is he will show up during these encounters on here. He has a chance to show up during these encounters here. And when he does, once we're just face to face with him, we can give him a key item, which we're about to buy here in Mobley's, called Dried Meat. It's going to trigger a very long cutscene, and then it's going to add him to our party. And that's also an event trigger that will allow the rest of the story to proceed. So when it comes to battles where Gao can show up, he has a 5 out of 8 chance, so 62.5% for joining us. So we will see. We'll see how lucky he gets here. First encounter here, if he's on step route, should be a single ghost. And it is, and it's a back attack. Gao can't show up during back attacks, so Takaze is just going to have to get out of here with this one. So he's just going to throw the potion, one-shot the ghost, and that's that. We're not going to see Gao. What we are seeing here is something that unfortunately happened to me during my race. Is ghosts have an ability called Pause, which afflicts a stop status. When this happens, if all of your other party members have run, you basically just have to sit here and just wait for this to go.
And the stop status effect is not fast to wear off, so it does take a lot of time.
It does. I actually... oh, there we go. I actually wiped before mine wore off. I'm sorry, not wiped.
Well, the person
Sabin died. Yes, yeah. Yes. So now the back for I don't know if it's applicable here, but we do. Oh, okay. We see Takaze got Gao, and I saw that caeshura is just starting the vault here, the Veld, excuse me, as well. But on this second train car, on the Phantom train. One of the ghosts on there, if you talk to him, is a shop, and you can buy things like potions and Phoenix Downs, things that you would need, potentially need, for the rest of the run. So that can be a nice little backup if you know about it.
Yep.
You'll also notice that both takaze and what caeshura just finished up with was a pincer attack from the Lobos and the guards, just like we saw in the beginning scene in Narshe. That's always scripted in, so that pincer attack is always going to happen. If you are on step route, you should never be alarmed by getting pincered there. And again, the optimal strat is just to attack with everyone and get it over with as soon as possible. It actually would be longer to try to run.
The same pincer attack from the beginning of the game, so the enemies have like 60-ish hit points or something like that.
Precisely, yeah. You see, she's selling off, caeshura that is, selling off some items that she does not need. She's going to be making a large purchase later in this run that we do want to have enough GP for. And because she did buy those extra things, like Natara pointed out, she did buy those extra things there in the same place where she recruited Shadow. She was going to be short on gold. So first try gal, easy every time. caeshura does not have to worry about getting trolled by any kind of RNG here. She is going to throw some dried meat at him, and
he'll be very happy about it.
A dance-off will ensue. Yes, he will be very happy about it. I see chat is not letting me get away with my misspeaking there.
I was going to let you get away with
Right,
it,
they
but
were.
Chat keeping me in check. BSharpMajor here looking his character. Here we go. Thank you, BSharp, is showing us exactly what I was talking about. Talking to that ghost, he will sell you Phoenix Downs. Doesn't need to buy that many, but good to have those. Yeah. Now he's. Oh boy.
Oops.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure BSharp knows quite where he's going. Yeah, you do not want to take extra encounters out here. He is in a dangerous place.
Yeah, that 4 whisper encounter is dangerous.
Oh boy, I hope he takes the time to do some healing here. How's he doing on items? Yeah,
3
reviving
potions.
is nice. 3 potions, that is... That's going to
Gotta
leave
do it,
him
I
with
guess.
none. Yeah, boy, it's YOLO from this point. All right. So what we're about to see, takaze, he is the first to get into the Serpent Trench here. And you're going to see 4 encounters during this trench. There's 2 in the first half, 2 in the second half. Each half is going to present you with a choice of which direction to go. You go right in the first half, left in the second half. And that's going to give you the minimal amount of encounters to get through here to the end point. So...
Also, since we missed it the first time, guys, get your kappas ready.
Oh, yes, indeed. Kappa's in chat. For that little green imp with the crown, its name is indeed Kappa. So... want to make sure that we pay him proper respects for wasting our time.
And also, there's many kappas, so feel free to showcase what kappas you guys have for us.
Yes, Kappa diversity.
Yep.
Alrighty. So there's pincer attack here. Luckily the overminds aren't terribly dangerous enemies, but we do want to get out of this ASAP.
Train is not being kind over here.
No, it really isn't.
And this is one of those situations which really showcases the need to step route. Because again, it is possible to have a totally okay train without step routing. But just how nasty it can get. Again, this pincer wouldn't have necessarily have been affected by that. But some of the other encounters which he has received would have been avoided had he been step routing.
Indeed. So this is going to be the last encounter here for takaze before he gets out of the trench, and he is through. So he is safe. Sabin scenario will be ending shortly. But there's first there's one very important task that he must complete before he finishes this up. So
yeah, and it is actually the reason we do Sabin's scenario first.
Exactly, yes. And that is going to be a quick trip here to the item shop to buy as many smoke bombs as he can. He is going to sell some items so that he can get even more. Yeah, you see, he was only going to get 11. He wanted 15. He's also going to be buying this mithril pike here. That's going to be used for Edgar during the Kefka battle. So definitely needed the extra gold for that. You see a lot of people when they do need the extra gold, they'll be selling that black belt relic. That is obtained when you do that very first battle with Cyan. You have a 7 out of 8 chance of getting that. It sells for 2,500 gold, which gives you plenty of the extra GP that you need to do all of these things. And I see a question here in chat: how did the forfeit have? Oh, and Natara's got it. Yeah, there was.
I got your back.
There were some Ultros struggles. Thank you, Natara. Appreciate that. Alrighty.
Got a pincer trench here.
Those are never fun. I am all too familiar with those, unfortunately. Now, what we're going to see here, and this is going to be coming up quick over on Takaze's side, is we're starting lock scenario, and we're going to make this scenario a lot shorter than it normally is. And we're going to do that by clipping through this guard here. What you're going to see is going to get up to it, open a menu, close it real quick, and walk right through that guard.
Similar to how Kay was skipping through the ghosts, it's the same sort of sort of strategy.
It's the same principle.
Way more effective here. So, as you noted earlier, we did pick up smoke bombs. And the one scenario here where we are not going to use those smoke bombs is when we have a preemptive attack, as it is actually faster to just flat out run away from those battles than it is to use a smoke bomb. But we definitely want the smoke bombs for safety, especially if we get any sort of pincer attacks or back attacks.
Alrighty, so here's BSharpMajor's opportunity to validate his run. And I see him switching around, so I think we all know what's coming.
Oh,
Train flex. Here it is, baby.
Train flex.
Alrighty. And then we throw a Phoenix down and we just get over this. There we go. Excellent.
How much health does the train have?
Doesn't matter because we've got a Phoenix down.
I don't really know.
Yes, but my question really becomes: how many suplexes would it take to kill the train?
Let's find out.
That is a good question. I would think that in the during the course of trying to figure that out, that Sabin would eat at least one evil tooth that would render the ability to do that strat by itself impossible.
We can buy remedies; it'll be all right.
You could. One other thing to note about the train, while a Phoenix down one-shots it, an Elixir will do the same thing. So that's just more trivia than anything. So what we're going to see here on Takaze's side is he's going to get through this boss pretty quick. What should have happened there, if this were a casual playthrough, is you would have Celeste with you. And Celeste would tell you, I don't know, some blonde girl. She would be telling you all about how she can use her nifty runic trick, which is essentially a way for you to just cheese that boss so that he does 0 damage to you. But because we don't have that, instead we have this Thunder Rod. That Thunder Rod is actually a weapon that you're supposed to equip, but if you use it in battle, it will cast the level 2 spell of its element, and it will also ignore magic defense. So you're going to see every time they use this Thunder Rod here, it's going to do exactly 1,448 damage. That's not a glitch, that's just because of the mechanic of it ignoring the defense. So, or the magic defense, that is. So it allows us to one-shot it, and we just move on because we can't runic with a non-existent Celeste. So
just so you know, the Phantom Train has 1,900 HP.
Got it. So that sounds like it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6-ish suplexes.
Be 7.
I think.
It does about 300.
Hold on a sec.
Okay,
There's someone,
so 6, maybe 7.
Trashing our Kainazo in chat, guys.
Whoa.
Guys.
Whoa.
Whoa. You gotta take that back a step, sir.
Excuse me. that true? So I looked at one and it said 1300, but I assume that that might just be wrong. Doing some hard research here.
Super important, guys. Nothing but the most important information. See, you're seeing on Cave Stream exactly why you want those smoke bombs. You get that pincer and you're just immediately out. And there's a couple of the pincer attacks which are really quite dangerous. Oh, she had an extra dried meat. Nice.
Yeah, I was just going to say, she used a dried meat to get her HP back up, which is, that's about as swaggy as it gets.
I love it.
So big time props to caeshura for doing that there. That was awesome. Alrighty. So she is probably just an encounter or two away from engaging tunnel armor herself. So we will see. And again, Takaze here, he is finds himself in a pincer attack, but also finds himself using a smoke bomb to get out of it. So that is definitely good for him to be able to do that. Now what we're seeing here is it's a small puzzle in this section of the game where you're supposed to follow the path of that glimmering light and then tag it at the very end to get out of it. Fortunately, he only has to do part of this, and then there's a visual cue that he has where he's going to do the A press right here, and it's going to automatically tag the light and let him get out. So he's good. We see BSharpMajor setting up for the... we see him setting up the Rhizopaz skip. Did that a little bit out of order. Usually you want to have the Piranha dead before Cyan, because it kind of just economizes your turns. But as long as he does everything he's supposed to and he gets through it, then he'll be fine.
I was going to say, we don't pick up the economizer in this run, though.
So technical, jeez.
So technical.
You're welcome.
The most.
I don't expect anything different from you, so there you go.
That's what I'm here for.
Of course. That and the awesome restreams, by the way. For those of you in chat, if you are not following Natar, please do so. All of our restreamers, Rissu is among them as well. With the volunteer work that they do to bring these races to you is very generous of their time and efforts, and they definitely deserve credit for it. So if you are not following either of these fine folks, please do so immediately.
Also, make sure to give follows to our runners who are doing a fabulous job here to entertain us all today, and our great commentary team, which does also include Vanivan.
It does.
It does. So I've been linking relatively frequently the links to the runners' Twitches and the commentary team in the chat, so makes it super easy for all you guys.
No, Races. RACES.
People just hear what they want to.
I know.
No sets are in this run either, to be fair.
I don't know why, but
yeah.
You know.
Sometimes you just gotta...
We do not espouse bigotry as part of this tournament.
No, we definitely do not. No jokes aside, or all jokes aside, seriously.
Yes, indeed. Alrighty. So, Takaze has finished up Bannon scenarios here, and he is going to go through a gamut of cutscenes before he gets to the final encounter with Kefka. So his run will be complete, I'll say, in probably about the next 5-ish minutes. Maybe about 4 or 5 minutes. Provided everything goes according to plan.
Is Takaze gonna do the thing?
Oh, we hope he's gonna do the thing.
God, I certainly hope so. I don't even want to try to explain that. I tell you what, if he does the thing, we will point it out that he is actually doing it. So
all right, sounds good.
We'll leave it a mystery. I kind of like the thought of the thing just being a mystery and everyone being like, what is the thing? Until it happens. It's just the thing, guys. It's really swaggy tech, which saves you basically no time, looks amazing, and has the potential to lose you a lot of time.
That's actually not true. If done properly, you do it on your first attempt, it can actually save you about 8 or 9 seconds.
Okay. Well, a decent amount of time, but the chances of you actually messing up are, unless you're extraordinarily practiced at it, it's quite difficult.
Yes. A couple things here in chat. I noticed Scratch Dragon saying that he might attempt it. I know he's been working on it, so definitely hyping that up for his next race. And then there was another question here: what happened to Aezir? Aezir did forfeit. He made at least 4 or 5 attempts on Ultros. Unfortunately, was underleveled and was unable to proceed.
So unfortunately, B-Sharp did get Gao earlier than he wanted, forcing him to hit him to make the battle end. So we definitely don't want that to happen. Gao showing up, in case we didn't mention it earlier, is a 5 out of 8 chance. So there is a fairly good chance of him showing up, but as most games, and especially speedruns, like to prove, statistics mean nothing. They're not going to show up. So
yeah.
We hope that does not happen here, but...
So a couple things here. Somebody's asking what happens if they don't do the thing. The standard strat is not to do it just because of the poor risk reward ratio. So you'll probably see standard strats here. Another thing I want to point out is you see all the people marching up there on Takaze's screen for this confrontation. You see that a Moogle is among them, and you're like, whoa, when did we pick up Mog? That's not Mog. That is Kutan. That is actually the placeholder in the game's memory, or the game's I guess in memory, for Celeste. So because we did not actually get her or name her, they just tossed Kutan in there instead. Kutan, as far as usefulness, basically has none. Stats are horrible, and you can't equip anything to Kutan, so definitely not favorable to have.
Designed to be a temporary character, so
right.
in that case, there was no reason to.
Right. So, what you saw Takaze do there is he very quickly assembled a middle party there consisting of Edgar, Sabin, Gao, and Cyan. This is the only one we will actually be using, and we're just going to take it straight to Kefka. So, much like what we saw with the Moogle encounter earlier, where you were waiting for mobs to pass by and then stepping by them at the right time, we're going to do the same thing here to an extent. We're just going to let certain mobs get past us, and once they do, then it's free to walk by. The timing here is pretty tight, though, because if any of those soldiers get up to Bannon at the top, it's game over. So we definitely don't want to waste any time. Here comes the Kefka battle. First thing we want to do is an Aura Bolt here with Sabin. While that is going on, we're going to do the wait trick here. You see him doing that with Gao's Rage menu. And then he selects the Rage, and then with the exception of a couple more Aura Bolts from Sabin, it's pretty much hold A here and just pray that you don't get Ice 2.
If you get good damage rolls and you're doing everything in time, you generally won't get to his 3rd turn, so he won't actually have the opportunity to cast it on you.
Indeed.
But even if you do, he also has a chance not to cast it on you, which is nice.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely like it when that happens, but when he does do it, it's a disaster, so we really aim to not even let him get to that turn.
And there was an incorrect blitz input, but it's a single target, so...
Thank goodness.
That's fine.
We're all scared.
And yeah, we were scared there, but however, he has escaped. Takaze has done. He has an official SRL time here of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 1 second. So GG to Takaze on the victory, and also on a great time, a 127, basically a 127 flat, which is what his splits say. I think that's probably one of the top 5 times of the run of the tournament so far. So, so excellent job, Takaze, on your run there. So he will have a record of 1-0 and will be facing, because of the Swiss round, the Swiss format of this tournament, his next opponent will also be somebody with a 1-0 record from this first round. Which actually concludes today. I believe there's one or two more races.
Yeah, there are. Actually, this is a good chance to mention them. There are 2 more races tonight. One of them very shortly after this finishes, and we will actually host that race as soon as it's done, but as soon as we're done here. But it will be at Scratch Dragon's chat. I will list it in the chat if he's not there to list it for us. That is at 9 o'clock Eastern. That will be the LCC versus Dustin. So LCC is the one who gave us the notes we're currently using. So definitely want to see that. And that will be commentated, in fact, by our very own caeshura, who's running right now. So along with Christopher Warkin, who has the best name in existence. Yeah, so it's amazing. And then at 11 o'clock Eastern time tonight, being the last run of this round, it'll be Creative Ellie versus Rebarbalut, and that will be at Riku Player's stream. So you definitely want to check out both of those. But again, we will send everyone over to the Scratch Dragons stream if we run over, or I'm sure it'll be up by the time we're done. So it'll start at 9 though, so it's something good. So time for Kay just about to start her Kefka fight.
Indeed. So yeah, so the first round does end today, or at the end of today, and the second round will begin tomorrow. Now, none of us know who our opponents are going to be, and I believe that myself, Natara, and Riss, I believe we are all 1-0, correct?
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Me and Bonnie are.
Okay. Anybody who is 1-0 is going to face an opponent with the same record. Anybody who is 0-1 is going to face an opponent with the same record. But we do not know who those people are going to be right now. We will find out tomorrow. So it's definitely interesting where if you are, if you're trying to gauge the skill level of your runner, whether or not you want to do safe strats, whether you feel like you kind of need to go for broke and kind of take some risks in certain areas, it definitely adds that element of surprise to it. So
I'll definitely have to bring out the swag strats when I face Bonnie in the next round.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's happening. It's my prediction. By the way, none of us have any idea literally about the next set, so we'll definitely see.
So a third attack here from Kefka on caeshura there. However, it was Bolt, which is much weaker, and especially when it's spread out, will not kill. So we see an escape there. caeshura has finished with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 35 seconds. So GG to caeshura for her finish. That is also a rather good time, too. So definitely a good showing for her. Happy for her, not only for the victory, but for putting up a pretty good run, too. And as I mentioned before, her PB was a high 131. That is now a PB for her of 1 minute and 13 seconds. So just a great day for caeshura there. That is excellent. I'm sure she will be in a fantastic mood for the commentary that she is going to be doing shortly.
Right?
Yes.
I will note she does have an eternal battle against Takaze. So while she officially was not racing Takaze, unofficially she was. So she will have to tell us all about that in the race she commentates.
Indeed.
Oh, there is no sound for this runner.
Yes.
They're supposed to have sound. So we're going to leave it on case for right now, and then we'll probably go to a YouTube playlist.
Yes. So now both Takaze and caeshura are going to be in that 1-0 group. And they could potentially face you or me. I mean, who knows? They could face each other. And then the rivalry would really intensify.
Would erupt.
It would reach critical mass. So, stay tuned, folks. That could very well happen.
It'll be amazing.
It would be pretty amazing.
So we do have BSharp here getting near the end of Sabin's scenario, just taking his turn through the trench.
Mm-hmm.
So Sabin's getting at a bit of a low HP, which is not the greatest. Cyan is someone who we're always very happy when he dies, because each of the characters has an individual run gauge, which they have to fill up before they can run. And unfortunately, Cyan has the longest. So we're kind of okay when he dies, as it speeds up running for everybody else. Sabin, however, we kind of like him to be alive. But so far, so good.
Yeah, he's through the trench. He's going to be just fine.
Oh, he is too. That is wonderful.
Yep. Yes. We see Takaze marching around with Kutan. I don't know if Kutan is just trolling for encounters, or...
To mention Takaze's time, you had said it is possibly a top 5 time. It is, in fact, the 5th best time that has been recorded in the tournament. So
there you go. Alrighty. Hey, I know what I'm talking about every once in a while.
Vonnie here with all the stats.
Indeed.
Somehow, right?
Yeah. So honestly, I find half of the battle of doing all of the stuff in Nakia is just knowing where you're going. Not so much knowing where you're going, but dodging all of those plentiful NPCs because there's so many.
It's pretty treacherous.
Yeah,
Yes, indeed.
It's one of the worst NPC sections I think I've ever dealt with. Why is he killing Kutan? Why?
Oh, Kutan!
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hold on a sec, I have an emote for that. Oh, hello. I have some people shutting down streams.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. We're gonna... That's one. Gone. Boop. We're gonna pause this one so it can stay in eternity of poor Kutan. Eternal fate.
One at the title screen with a forfeit, another with an annihilation of that poor, cute, sweet Moogle.
Right?
What a jerk.
Okay, so we're going to put on a playlist here because everybody loves playlists. So,
yes, indeed.
We'll just skip to the next track. Hopefully it's something cool. Wrong timing. Great song.
All right, so B-Sharp is going to try to do a little bit different clip here. Basically, the way you want to set this up is, so every time you come out of that house there, it's going to bring the guard all the way up from the top of where he marches back and forth down to that bottom corner there. So you can time it just right. So when you get to that, right in front of the right window there at that part of the house, if you open up your menu at just the right time, it'll get you through perfectly. So unfortunately, he's having a little bit of a struggle getting that timing. So no, it's a little too late there.
And
the window's pretty tight. So now here's the nice thing, because this is a town where there are not any encounters. The steps that he takes through here. Oh, there we go.
Nice.
Okay, so he got it there. Well done. Hey, backup strat. Hey, man, got to do it one way or another.
So you gotta do it, right? No.
To finish that thought, though, because it is a town, because there are no encounters in there, taking all those extra steps like he was doing, it does not increase your threat counter. So if he was on step route, doing all that stuff that he did on there is not going to jeopardize it.
Right.
So, walking out. Safety saving? That's what I figured.
He's been safety saving like every opportunity that he can,
and
which
that's
I
important
applaud.
because,
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, seriously, no joke. If you are having any issues whatsoever with your run, safety save everywhere, because you were going to lose less time than if you die somewhere.
Yeah. And what? Oh, poison barb. That's not good.
At least he has an antidote, right?
Yep. I hope so. I hope he got it in the returner's hideout. I see it. There it is.
There it is.
Good.
Yeah, that is. It's one of the reasons why I don't like to skip that, even though you certainly can, just because it's so unpleasant when you do get poisoned in here.
Yeah. Now, and one thing that can make this particular scenario dangerous is the fact that you only have one character in your party. So if he dies, that's it. It's not like in, say the Serpent Trench, where if, say Sabin and Cyan die, if Gao's still alive, then so is your run. But in this case here, if Locke bites the dust, then that's rip run. So
yeah, you definitely don't want that.
So HP management can get to a point where it's something you really need to keep an eye on. Gonna do that recovery spring just for safety, even though there's only a few more steps. See, this is precisely what I'm talking about. You get this pincer here. That gold bear does an attack called Gouge. I'm sorry, is it Gouge? Gore?
Gouge.
Something along those. It is Gouge. Okay.
Yep.
Which is extremely powerful. Now, one thing to note, when we first do this menu here with Locke in his scenario, he always defaults to being in slot 1. We move him to slot 2, and the reason why that is that if you get pincered by that gold bear formation, Locke will be facing left. If he's in that number 1 slot, he'll be facing right. He will have his back to the bear, which means that Gouge will do double damage and will almost assuredly one-shot him. So we make that one change for that very scenario to make sure that we don't get we don't wipe to gouge there.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that at all.
There's a lot of very small things you can do throughout this run that, like, you won't usually happen. I mean, you pick up the True Knight for the Piranha fight. I mean, there's a lot of just little things that you can do that are just, if it happens, then you're safe.
Yeah.
It feels a lot better when it does happen and you're good.
Yes. So lock scenario is done, circumventing that pesky save point there to get to Bannon. And this will be the last scenario and the last stretch of this run here for BSharpMajor.
Yeah, usually it is the shortest scenario, but with the clipping and the skipping you do in lock scenario, it does become the second longest, but it is still quite a short scenario.
Sure, certainly. Ah, very good. Only one encounter. So that backstretch of Leet River here on Bannon's scenario. Boy, another safety save. Can't. I don't hate it.
Can't have enough.
Don't hate it. Can't have enough.
I love it. Hey, it's seriously my mantra, guys. Safety save everywhere.
So the back section of that Leet River part in Bannon's scenario, you have a chance to get anywhere from 1 to 3 encounters on there. You know, how many you get is totally frame based, so there's really no manipulating it. But he only got 1, which is ideal.
And a lot of these enemies are honestly, like, you don't even have to worry about being hit because they're the same enemies that Terra was taking care of by herself at the beginning of the game, but it still takes more time to fight them than it does to simply run away.
This is true, especially with the magic of smoke bombs.
Oh, absolutely.
The magic. Sorry.
yes, that magic. Riz.
Okay.
So
Okay.
perfect.
we're on the same page.
Also, I apologize for the lack of timer. I was using one of the runner's timers, and unfortunately, B-Sharp had a timer malfunction at the beginning, so is not running a timer. So it's still ongoing. He will have an official time as of SRL, but there's nothing on stream.
Isn't there a function in SRL when you can type like .time and it'll show you the current time or something?
Yeah, but then you have to set up a timer and then you have to put it in the restream.
And the race is almost over. We're not
No,
doing
but yeah.
There is, yes.
Oh yeah, I could tell you what time it is. I'm just saying for those who are watching and are not in SRL, it's not a malfunction. Well, it minorly is, but we're aware.
It's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's fine. It's great. Jeez.
So, B-Sharp
totally
also
normal.
doing the Moogle Cave skip, bought the pikes, hopefully, in Nikia, because if you go through that cave, there are a whole pile of Moogles in there, and if you want to deal with a room full of just a billion NPCs, and often you're lucky, but you do have those runs where they really terribly troll you, so generally you save time by not going in there, though it doesn't stick completely to the step route by doing such.
I actually had a run where one of the Moogles blocked me all the way up to the Rune Edge treasure chest, and that was the last time I entered that room. I was like, I'm buying Mithril Pike instead for now.
Yeah, exactly. The Mithril Pike technically does more damage as well, so for the sake of one extra encounter, I think it is still faster.
Right, and that is the key note there, is that I thought it was 2 encounters that you saved if you're on step route by going through the Moogle room there.
Yeah.
I think it is 2. I think it is 2.
Could very well be.
Yeah, whatever.
Because I think that's kind of the break point where you decide, okay, is this or is this not worth it?
Yeah.
For 1, if you're skipping just 1, yeah, get the pike. But for 2, then it becomes more of a toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So
I tend to get neither, so it's fine.
There you go. And that is, once you're more used to how the fights work, you absolutely can do that. There is less damage that you're doing, but it's fairly decently easy to make that up. So there's definitely strategies around that. But B-Sharp now finishing up map, the last scenario. So heading up just through the last set of cutscenes before the final boss. Now, of this particular category. And as I mentioned, safety saving is super important. And one of the places I highly recommend for basically everyone is saving right at the top there before all of those fights, making sure to have that safety at the top, so in case you do die to Kefka, you can just restart right there and don't have to do all of these cutscenes, of which there are a billion.
A billion.
Literally, a billion.
Literally.
I honestly think this is probably the most cutscene heavy portion of this entire category. Is what we're seeing right here.
Mm-hmm.
That
because
in the Imperial camp. I want to time it sometime.
Yeah, you could be right. Those are the top two for sure.
Oh,
the
for
order,
sure.
the order of them, it would need to be timed. But those are the two most obnoxious ones.
I think technically, like the Imperial camp, you get some player control in between them, so it might even be more annoying, just because like you're not just mashing, but you have to like not pay attention and then pay attention and then not. And then...
Exactly. That's
This is
exactly my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Camp Cutscene and me are not friends.
Cyan is extremely upset at this vicious Moogle that has been presented to him.
Vicious,
Well, I mean, you would be
vicious.
too.
Like, look at those cute wings and that adorable nose and that little thing on the top of its head. It is too cute to be anything but a weapon.
Yes, it is beaming in directives from its evil overlord through that antenna.
Wait, Mog?
And yes, this
Oh,
is
yes.
the first. This is not the first time we've had this tournament. No, this is
That
the
is-
second Kefka Narshe Tournament.
Mhm.
Wherefore Art Gao is the specific subtitle of this one. I think Kefka is harsh was the subtitle of the first
Kefka
one.
is harsh, yes.
That is correct.
He is harsh.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
That was a good tournament.
Yeah. So good, we decided to do it again.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'd do it again.
Okay, so ready for their walk up to the Esper. General Kutan, cold as ice.
And cute AF.
Right? Don't mess with her, man.
Alrighty, so safety save.
Oh, Celis is standing on the screen, by the way. In case you never
Yes.
noticed.
Indeed.
Not Kutan, somehow.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's funny. There's certain spots where, you know, it looks like Celeste, but as soon as you put Kutan in your party, they're Kutan again.
It's Kutan. Yeah, actually, if you talk to Celeste, because the idea of that little setup there is that you can go to your characters and equip them individually so that they're all ready for the fight. If you actually go up and talk to Celeste and switch, it will switch from the Celeste site to the Mog sprite.
And even
like,
here
in
in
your
the party
party.
select screen
Yeah.
as well.
You know, and that's actually an interesting Easter egg for those of you that play, the A Link to the Past randomizer.
No one does that.
One of the sprites that you could use for your character is Mog, and when Mog gets polymorphed into what is normally the bunny, if you're Link, with the Mog sprite, it morphs into Celeste.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
it does. It's beautiful.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it changes the color of her outfit depending on which armor you have.
Right.
Right.
By the way, I was not trying to take a dig at Zelda 3 randomizer. I am one of the people who is hooked on it. So.
Yeah, indeed. Which is kind of why I made that joke. And we
Yeah.
saw, unfortunately, B-Sharp here get a little too hasty with getting by these troopers here. So
Yeah, and
did
it's in-
engage the battle,
Yeah.
but he's already wiped out 2, so not in too much trouble here.
Yeah,
Just
it's
losing
the
some
big
time.
point, the big danger here is that you're taking extra hits. Like, you're not in danger from this fight, it's how it sets you up for the Kefka fight. So, usually what they do if this does happen is you tend to have a few curative items, so you get out of the way, and since you have to wait anyways, you hop into your menu and do a bit of curing.
And I hope that B-Sharp does that, because Cyan is pretty low, and if Kefka swipes him, oh boy, and now we got a rider fight.
Ooh, yeah, now this is a fight you really have to time quite precisely. Otherwise, you get into this fight. We were calling it Neta Rider for a while because I would get it literally every single time. And again, it's not too difficult to do, but it's another spot where you're taking hits, and Rider can do quite a bit of damage. And it's really cutting close the time he's going to have to heal afterwards, because all of the soldiers are still climbing up, like in between, like not while this battle's going on. So you need to make sure to get to Kefka as well in enough time, so the soldiers which are up there don't make it up and fight one of your two empty parties.
Yeah, oh boy. The only curative item he had was that elixir, and he used it on Cyan, who needed it the most, not actually doing a weight trick on that Aurabolt there, so we're almost certainly going to see a third attack here from Kefka, and I just hope it is not a particularly nasty attack. Oh good, hitting Sabin there, not taking out Edgar. Opting to use... Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought he was using the auto crossbow. He was using that for weight trick. That's acceptable. There goes Sabin. That's a problem. Although it wasn't a nice 2, so that's the positive part. Let's just hope we don't see a fourth attack here. Yeah, we won't. He is going to done with an official SRL time of 1 hour 49 minutes and 57 seconds. So GG to B-Sharp. Go ahead.
Quite a PB. That's quite a PB for him, actually.
His PB was 2 hour and 12 minutes. So that is what? 22 minutes? Yeah. Almost 23 minutes? Mm-hmm. So that's good. That's a huge PB. It's also going to put a time on the board. Having the forfeits could potentially come into play with some later tiebreakers. We're not sure, but the fact that he finished is great, and especially the huge PB is good too. So GG to B-Sharp, but unfortunately this also means that he has suffered a loss. He falls to 0-1 and will be facing another 0-1 runner in the next round. Yeah. Could be Riss, yes, indeed.